Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lab Reports, where we live, love, lab.
So, on today's episode, we will be diving into a little more about lab, about research opportunities, how we came to obtain our research opportunities, and what we love about lab, and some interesting stories, some funny stories.
Yeah. We actually tried to record this episode before, but we're both just such, enthusiastic researchers that it ended up being really long.
Yeah, it was super long. And both of us were just, rambling so much because, I feel like on this topic is the most difficult for us because we just have so much that we want to say about it. I mean, our whole, STEM, also career, since we started college, is built around research, and that's also what we want to go into in the future, so... Yeah. We came back with a plan, a more structured episode, so hopefully, we won't be ranting like we did last time.
Yes, so...
Oh my god.
I know, what is... Okay.
Sorry, so I'll just, not move a lot.
I'm dead, it's okay. You know how to fix it. Okay, so part of us keeping this episode... straight to the point and succinct is that we're going to challenge ourselves to give a 1-minute elevator pitch of the research we're currently working on. If you went to the Mary G. Hamilton symposium, that would have happened, a week or 2 weeks from when we released this episode?
Yeah, let's just, I don't know when we're going to release this episode.
Well, the symposium already happened, so you may have came and seen Sophia and my research, but just in case you didn't, we're just going to kind of give you guys an overview. So let's set a really fun alarm for 1 minute.
Okay, but you have to go first then.
Oh, then you have to hold it.
Okay, what do I do?
Okay, put it near the camera so they can see that I can do this in 1 minute. Ready?
Well, okay, yeah, I'm starting it. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so I am doing developmental research. I've worked on multiple projects. One of them looks at toxic chemicals called ionic liquids and how they impact the developing nervous system. The other one is looking at a gene called KCC2, which is involved in regulating the nervous system. And when it's dysregulated, you get a ton of disorders like autism, schizophrenia, epilepsy, stuff like that. The chemical one, we're actually currently working on a paper because it's towards the end. That one's really exciting, but my favorite one is the epigenetic one I'm currently doing. I do a lot of stuff in the lab. My PI is Dr. Rodenas. Shout out Dr. Rodenas. We do imaging, microdissection, injection, exposure, just a million different things. Really cool stuff. I want to do epigenetic work in the future, I think. And yeah, you might see my posters on the 8th floor. Hopefully I'll link the paper when it's out. That's my research.
Awesome! Look at you go!
And now...
really fun alarm. Wait, shit, now I have to do it.
I think you can... Actually, no, you have a lot going on with your research.
No, I think I could do it.
Yeah? Actually, no, you could. I think you can keep it succinct. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Oh.
Okay, so I'm doing organic chemistry research. I'm doing research at Rose Hill and JMH with Dr. DeGrandi. My project is a ring expansion project, and we're basically trying to replicate the tricyclic core ring structure of pancreatistatin, which is a natural anti-cancer agent which is found in the spider lily. I'm not going to go into this side now. Basically, my role over the summer and these past couple months has just been optimizing reaction conditions. And, we're testing it out with different chiral acids. And, sometimes we're using heat. Sometimes we're just running the reaction on room temperature or at room temperature. And our next big goal is to try and see if we can render this reaction enantioselective, which basically... in organic or in biochemistry and in organic compounds, if a compound has a chiral center, it exists in 2 enantiomers or diastereomers, and we're basically trying to figure... It's just because enantioselective is difficult to explain to someone who has never taken organic chemistry.
No, I think it's very... Do you want to, draw it out?
No. It's I figured out an easy way to explain it, but it's... Okay.
Okay, you get a fair...
I get an extra 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So basically, in organic compounds, wow, this is like awful.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about the technical difficulties, a little bit of static. But Sophia is now going to explain what
Okay.
Little orgo lesson.
Okay, so basically in organic compounds, if your compound has a chiral center, and a chiral center basically means a carbon is connected to 4 different groups. Like all 4 groups have to be different because very commonly in organic chemistry, it's like a bunch of CH2s or CH3s. So if you have a chiral center, the compound can exist in 2 identical mirror images, like forms, which are called enantiomers, and you can literally just think of like a left and a right-handed glove, like they're exactly the same but opposite in like one tiny way, and that's what enantiomers are. And then you can get into diastereomers and constitutional isomers, but like that's beyond my scope. That's beyond the scope of this podcast, but that's like my next step of the project is to try and see, because right now the reaction works and we produce a mixture of 50% both enantiomers. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, the whole point is one enantiomer is always biologically active and one is always biologically inactive. So that's why we want more of one enantiomer compared to the other one. We want the one that's active. So that's my research.
You know what's so crazy? It's like hearing you talk about that and then thinking about how like a year ago you probably wouldn't have even like known what like was going on.
Oh no, absolutely
Isn't it crazy
not.
how
I know.
Like you just pick stuff up so quickly?
I know, it is crazy because it's actually been a year. Like last year, this time is when we probably would have already taken our exam on enantiomers and that stuff. No, or yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. Just in 1 year, you can make so much progress.
Yeah.
And Dr. DeGrande did this little like spiel at the beginning of Mary G. Hamilton, where he was saying how like students sometimes think lecture classes are more important, and he's like, oh, I'm sure it's because of the credits and blah blah, and like that is true. But then he said how the only way you're able to learn what you learn in lecture is through lab. And I was like, he's so right. And I don't know why. I mean, obviously we love lab so much, but at the same time, I was like, I never thought about it in a more of an academic way, like how much it helps us learn in lecture is like what we do in lab. And yeah, I mean, that's why I think I've like learned so much and gotten so comfortable talking about it, is because like I'm like physically doing it in lab every day,
No, completely.
Or not every day anymore, but
like just doing it in general. Yeah. So you guys should totally not only take your lab classes seriously, but if you've ever considered doing research, or like you went to the symposium and you were like, oh, this is really cool stuff, you should seek out research opportunities. Like it, even beyond just being a box you can check off on your resume, if you're doing research in something you're interested in, it helps so much with like broadening your understanding and like really helping you get more out of the information.
I agree. I think also like, yeah, in the academic sense, in the class sense, if you understand what's going on in lab, it makes it so much easier for lecture. Like it really does. Obviously there's a huge correlation between the classes, but like I would say like if you especially when you get into like chemistry and organic chemistry,
yeah, it's really
like important. if you understand what you're doing in lab, it makes lecture like 10 times easier, to be honest.
Yeah, a couple people came up to me during the symposium asking like how to get research, who to speak to, how to like go about figuring out what you might want to do. So maybe we can kind of talk about how we got our positions, but also how we decided, like, you know what, this is exactly what I want to stick with. Like, I'm happy here. So do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've done research in 2 different labs. Dr. DeGrande's is the second lab, and I did research in a spectroscopy lab the summer or second semester of my sophomore year, continuing into that summer. And it's really just like making yourself open and reaching out to teachers. You know, it's both of those things. It's, you know, creating a good connection with your teachers, sending them an email or setting up a meeting with them, and also showing them that you're very open to research and open to learning and finding out new things, because then that shows them they're like a lot more willing to help you. And even if, you know, their lab is full, they know a bunch of other teachers who are also taking students, or even teachers at other schools who are taking students. So yeah, just, you know, pay attention in the classes that you find more interesting than others, set up a meeting with that teacher and just ask about research. And if they say, like, no, I don't do research during the school year, or I, you know, don't have a spot for you, then ask, do you have anyone else? Like, don't expect them to be like, oh, but I know this person you could ask. Like, no, like, you should be the one asking,
Taking
like,
initiative.
do you know anyone else? What about someone at Columbia or CCNY or Mount Sinai or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and kind of in line with that, I feel like imposter syndrome always comes up, but it's so easy to, like, be like, oh, maybe they won't give me a position because I don't know what I'm doing, or I've never had experience in a lab, or why would they take me? And it's important to not count yourself out, because a lot of the times these professors do know you're coming in with no experience, and the whole point is that you're supposed to be trained up and learn it. Most people don't go into a lab, especially their first lab, knowing how to do a lot of things.
Exactly.
So even if you're worried about... Oh my gosh.
What was that?
I don't know. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you for bearing with us through those technical difficulties. There should be no more for the duration of the episode. Yeah, even if you're worried about starting off with no experience, no knowledge, like Sophia said, the best thing you can do is at least ask. Because most professors are going to be willing to, if not give you an opportunity in their lab and train you up, give you opportunities that are willing to train you up and that take in people who have no experience. And, like, the whole point is to, like, give them a starting ground so that they can build from there.
And also, like, every lab is so different, even if it's a lab within a similar field, that most people understand that there's a big learning curve whenever you start a lab.
It's very
like
true.
most of the professors, I mean, in my two experiences, Dr. DeGrande and my previous PI, Dr. Alfano, they are so great and were so great about explaining things to me in a non-condescending way. And yeah, I mean, it takes a while to pick up lab skills. I mean, there's all of these such, like, complicated processes and machines and all of this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And you only get it through repetition. You can be, like, the smartest person ever and understand everything, but you walk into a lab and, like, oh, there's a Carry 5000 machine, or there's an Raman spectroscopy, whatever laser, you know, like, you're not going to automatically know how to use that. So yeah, so don't feel insecure if you've never done research before. I mean, that was me. I'd never done research until second semester of my sophomore year, and I was, like, really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I asked so many teachers. I even, like, I didn't, like, commit, but I asked one teacher about doing research with them, and we were kind of talking about, or in the process of solidifying that, and then I realized that I really didn't want to do research with that professor, so I kind of left them hanging a bit. But, you know, like, teachers do that to you, you do that to teachers, you know, it's all trial and error.
No, that's so true. Lab culture is so important. Like, if you're not happy or comfortable in your lab and communicating with your PI and working with the people you're working with, you're never going to make, like, effective progress. So if a lab doesn't serve you in that way, don't be afraid to walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to spend your time better somewhere where you feel comfortable than trying to push aside all of the other stressors and not being able to put 100% into the work that you're doing.
Very true. I mean, yeah, I was in that position. That's why I left, like, my CCNY lab. It gave me a lot. It taught me a lot, you know, and I just kind of realized that even though it was, like, a great experience and opportunity, I didn't want to go any farther within it. Like, I didn't want to go any farther within the field. Like, spectroscopy and physics, like, isn't what interests me. And yeah, I didn't really want to stay and work there longer either. Like, it was great for the time that I was there, but I also, you know, only had one friend really. Everyone else was a lot older. It was very male dominated, and that it also made me realize that a priority for me is having like other women in my lab, and that's also something, you know, I'm looking out for my PhDs and grad. It's very difficult, but I am like looking out for that. And then Dr. DeGrandy's lab, it was like 3 girls. And Dr. DeGrandy, and like that was great, honestly. Like, it was so nice. But yeah, and I mean, that's also why I liked working. I mean, the actual lab work I enjoy and understand a lot more in the research I'm doing now, but also just the environment. Like, I like that it was a much smaller lab. I like that we were all really close and comfortable with one another, and we got so much closer once the summer ended than when we started. And like, I made 2 new friends, and you know, we still, like, I see Ozra every week, you know, Aria I see every now and then, and yeah, I don't think like we'll ever not be friends now after this. So
yeah, no, I feel the same about a lot of my lab mates too. Do you feel like, okay, wait, have you ever seen My Little Pony?
Yeah, of course.
You know the whole thing about like the cutie mark?
Oh.
Where it's like you realize something that you're meant to do in life, and then all of a sudden, like the thing decides on their butt. Do you feel like you had a moment like that in lab where you were like, wow, this is exactly what I want to do with my life?
Like, yes, I thought I did, but now, you know, I'm going through a little bit of like a crisis about what I should go into for my PhD. So it's like I did, and it honestly, it like solidified itself in lab, but it was more like in class, like during orgo, that I got that. And then once lab started, and I kind of like stopped fucking up, and like I was like able, like at the start of lab, something that took me 5 hours, I got down to 45 minutes. And then once that happened, and I was just able, once I got to the point kind of where all Dr. DeGrandy had to do was like come in, hand me a piece of paper with like 3 reagents, the moles I have to use of each, or the molar equivalents I have to use of each, and like plops it on my desk, and I just like calculate everything and like do the whole procedure myself. Like, I think that's when I realized like, okay, like I like this, I fuck with this, like I, you know, I get this down easily. But yeah, I don't know, because like I'm going through a little like, I'm like confused about my future. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But what about you?
I feel like I always really liked the lab, but it clicked for me when I realized it was like 12 a.m. and I was still there. Like, the fact that I could just sit in there and I wouldn't realize how much time was passing, I was like, oh, like, this is an easy answer. But at the same time, I completely understand where you're coming from, because it's like now that I have to look into programs that I'm going to do in the time before I apply, and I actually have to narrow like down what I'm doing.
That's what it is. It's like the specifics of it, because as we started off the episode saying, like, we love lab so much and we're so enthusiastic about it that, like, now that's what we have to decide, like, what lab we want to be in. I mean, for the next, like, 8 or 5 to 7 years, really, you know, like, it's scary. And I'm like, wait, but I like this lab, but this lab is so interesting, but I could do this. And, like, it's like you think that everything is kind of under the same umbrella, like pharmacology or organic chemistry, but no, there's a whole different program for organic chemistry. There's what's even crazier is like there's synthetic organic chemistry, and then there's medicinal organic chemistry, and then there's pharmacology, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is the difference?
It's kind of similar with neuro too, because it's like 6 people are looking into like what causes some disorder, but it's like this person's looking at it from like a gene point of view. This person is doing like fMRI. This person, and it's like there's 20 different approaches you can take to look at the same thing, and you have to decide, okay, which one of these am I going to do for like the rest of my life?
Dude, I know, it's actually really crazy.
And we cannot provide advice on that, unfortunately, because we're still dealing with it. But we will get back to you on that. It's a blessing and a curse because it's like there will always be something that you can be doing because there's a million different things to be researching from a different angle. But then it becomes a problem of which one are you going to do. And it's scary because the moment you make a choice, there's kind of an illusion that you're like neglecting every other possibility.
Yeah, but that's like, I don't know, like, I think we're just so hard on ourselves too. At the end of the day, we have to give ourselves grace because, yes, I mean, this is this is a very difficult choice, but we're also not considering and thinking about the fact that, like, we don't have to make it immediately. Do you know what I mean?
True.
Like, we're gonna still have coursework and, you know, like some time to figure it out, and we're gonna be in the actual place where those labs are, and we're gonna be able to interact with the PIs, or we're gonna be able to see, like, firsthand how those labs interact with one another, and, like, I think that's gonna help, I know that's gonna help us make our decision than just like reading these blurbs.
That's
like,
true.
You
I guess
know?
it's just like the whole anxiety of like when you first apply to college and they're like pick a major and you're like I don't even know what these majors.
I know.
We just have to pick one and go with it, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, like, I think I'm just gonna like apply to like so many different places and so many different programs. Honestly,
that's the plan too. Like a wide net and see what lands. Yeah,
we'll just see.
Well.
I don't know. Well,
parting advice.
You start.
We kind of already like mentioned it before, but first of all, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid if you're coming in with nothing. All you need is a passion, and like I sound like a corny inspirational
You sound like
person.
the Make-A-Wish foundation.
That's terrible. Well,
that's terrible of me.
In the least corniest way possible. All you need is like a dream or a passion or something you're interested in, an open mind, and the willingness to put in the work and keep trying even if you're not seeing immediate results. It's like drinking water through a garden hose. Like, it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be hard.
I've never heard that metaphor before.
Yeah. I hear it all the time. Drinking, because it's like such just blasting in your face. You just have to push through it. You're learning a lot. You're dealing with a lot. It's overwhelming. But as long as you remind yourself, like, I really like this stuff, or this is what I really want to do, and I'm willing to put in the time and effort necessary, you're going to figure it out. It's going to be okay.
So true.
And then also lab culture.
That was very inspiring.
Oh, thank you. I try.
You made me feel really inspired.
Oh, that makes me glad. Good job. Yeah, and then like we said before, lab culture. If a lab's not serving you, or if a lab doesn't seem like it's going to foster the kind of environment that you can be productive in, it's okay if you walk away. I went a little Dr. Seuss there.
Yes,
okay
it really is.
Away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Hey, I actually have like a question for you. Like, you know, what do you think, like, in many years after this, like, I'm not saying in like 20, 30 years even, because I think it's going to take a while until there's like a definite stop to this period, but what do you think? You know, obviously there's like the Industrial Revolution, but they're definitely going to call like this period of time something like a technological evolution or something.
Yeah.
Because think about it, like, iPhone came out in 2003. Before 2003, people were using like Blackberries.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And now we have ChatGPT.
Which is insane.
Like, it's literally been 21 years. Like, that is fucking nuts. Like,
I feel like the thing is, though, yeah, there was the whole thing of, like, the industrial period, and then it kind of, like, plateaued, but AI gives us a whole other level of insight, where it's, like, now it's not just our brains that we're relying on. We have, like, these, like, algorithms and stuff to, like, not reason with, but, like, to build off of and work with to better enhance what we're coming up with. So maybe we will plateau, but it's not going to be as, like, straight as the industrial. I think we're only going to keep, like, steadily increasing.
Yeah.
Because it's not just human intelligence we're working with anymore. Which is scary.
That is really scary.
And I hope I'm long gone from this earth when we get to the point that people are just kind of popping out monsters.
Yeah, I know.
This is why I love science, because when it's done right, it makes, like, we have so many incredible advancements, but then the other side of it is that people don't know when to stop.
Exactly.
And it's inevitable that...
But it's not even people, like, that's why I said, like, I made that connection to Rosalind Franklin, which is, like... But, like, it literally just takes one person to be corrupt.
That's true.
And, like, I mean, that, it happens everywhere, you know what I mean? Politics, STEM, you know, it's just human nature, unfortunately. But... that's why it's so dangerous, is, like, it literally just takes one person to be like, oh, I have an idea, but, like, a lot of people might not agree with it because it will only make me rich, or, like, like, this will be my benefit, there will be this great personal benefit, but, like, to others, it'll be a giant detriment, you know what I mean? And then, like, he recruits, like, another person, and they're all like, oh my god, like, we're gonna make so much money and be so famous, and, you know, so it's not even, like, people don't know when to stop, it's just that it will never stop, you know, because there's always going to be, like, at least one person who will want to put their personal needs or whatever they want over the needs of, like, over what?
Like, the greater good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're getting into this philosophical shit right now, but, like, it's you know,
true.
It's true.
And it's interesting to think about, too, because... it's hard to even imagine a solution to that, because how do you completely regulate what people do behind closed doors, or, like, what ideas they're... because, like you said, it only takes one person who's corrupt. Behind closed doors, they recruit the team they need to do it. And even though we have, like, little systems in place, like, oh, the laymen who check the experiments to make sure they're ethical and stuff, like, you can bypass that. You just need... the way the advice I gave can apply to that. You just need a dream, hard work, and an open mind, and you will cause the world to end.
Oh my god, stop it.
Yeah, okay, no, sorry. And we're wearing all black, too. Like, this is going down a dark
so
path.
morbid today.
Thank you guys for listening. We hope that you have a better insight into how to go about the lab, maybe some more motivation to seek out opportunities, because you can do it. Anyone can work. I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, don't do them.
Anyone with an open mind, a passion, and the willingness to learn can find a lab that fits them. I think this was a fun episode. We talked about some really cool stuff. So I hope you guys liked it, and...
even got into some conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Or not like conspiracy theories,
but, like,
some
deep
philosophical quarries.
Yeah. If you guys have any thoughts about that, leave something in the comments.
Yeah, seriously.
Maybe get into a debate of your own. But yeah, that said, we'll see you guys when we see you. And until then, bye.